Hi, welcome to Wild Speculations. I'm Scott,
I'm Daniel.
and today we are talking about Nautilus Arc, a Johnson Corp Odyssey. It was pretty good. One shot.
I loved the hell out of this.
Yeah,
Start to finish, for so many different reasons. Okay, there was a bit that I didn't like, but we'll get to it in due time.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to touch on real quick, at the top, because it was at the top of there, the ad. Buying merch for
the Critical Role Foundation.
well, any charity.
Okay.
If you buy something, that's not tax deductible.
Yeah.
Unless the exception is, they say this is for the item, and this is your donation. So, like, that's why Humble Bundle works, because you can set, this is for the object, this is for the product, and this is the cash donation.
Gotcha.
So just a clarification on their announcement for the foundation.
Thank you, Rose. I am feeling better. Unfortunately, because Dan is not feeling as well, that's why I did the introduction. We'll be attempting to carry most of the conversation, although he is, I like to say I'm the Pruitt to his Jim Davis, but we're going to try and reverse that this week.
You know, Rose, so years ago in high school when I got my tongue pierced, they used a numbing agent and gave me a tongue twister to say, and I said it, and the guy was like, "Is your tongue numb?" I was like, "Yeah." And today, they kept coming in to see how I was, and I was like, I feel numb, yeah. It's messing with my sense of proprioception, but," and they would walk out and 10 minutes later come back to see how I was. I don't think they believed me. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'd really like to know what, I know she said it was a homebrew, but in the description on the video, it also says it's a mashup between Mothership and the Alien role-playing games.
Yeah.
I'd really like to see what exactly their rule system they used was.
So, yeah, it was those two. And I was amazed that she did that. Because, like, it's one thing to homebrew an adventure.
Right.
But basically to make your rule set up.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, it's big. But it may have also been a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
So that people can't say, well, you did this wrong, you did this wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my guess. Although, from watching it, maybe 2 or 3 moments might have been questionable. And she did it for narrative reasons to get to move on. But otherwise, from what I saw, everything seems consistent.
It seemed pretty smooth and consistent.
And easy.
Yeah. Just need D10.
Yeah.
So she, explains that, gives us a little backstory. And I know she said it was a love letter to the show, to the movie she loved growing up. But with the description of the original precept description, really gave me some Titan AE vibes, but I don't think that came out long ago enough to be one of the movies because she's not much younger than I am.
Well, with the moon exploding being the inciting incident, maybe.
Yeah, that and the kind of the arc. It was a little different, instead of cell things,
Yeah. I
cell
mean,
slides.
Titan AE is sort of in the same group as Treasure Planet, where it's a great animated sci-fi film that very few people know.
Yeah, it's in that pocket. Them and like Atlantis are in that pocket of time where the animated movies were great, and then they tried new stuff, and it was great, but not a lot of people responded to it. So then they went on to what they're doing now.
Yeah,
and it's in just that pocket of almost forgotten time.
Yeah.
Although they're some of my favorite animated movies, for sure. But yeah, I just don't think it fits the time frame for movies when she was a kid. Might, but
that's not one that I picked up on, though.
I did pick up on all of them that you wrote down as well, but that was just the one that you didn't list that I picked. That I kind of got that vibe from.
Yeah.
But first things first. After that, we get a inadvertent flashback to the group meeting, starting with Marisha playing Dr. Noman. Now, was she a genetically engineered frog or an actual alien species?
Genetically engineered frog.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And I was like, that's an interesting choice. Okay. But then as she was playing the character, she was triggering me in the way that Space Force on Netflix did.
Okay.
There were genuinely funny bits of Space Force.
Yes.
But I couldn't get over the fact that I know people involved in space can't be idiots.
Right.
Because space will kill you.
Yes.
Now, as the episode went on, Marisha didn't fall into that.
Yeah.
It was just she was quirky.
For me, like, only one character didn't give me vibes of a character from another movie or sci-fi show. And for me, now, the astrobiologist part doesn't fit, but just the personality and the upbeat and the pluckiness just reminded me of Kaylee from Firefly.
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't the mechanic, but just the upbeat and the excited and, and when Kaylee's, when they're first in battle and Kaylee's like, I don't know how to use this thing, the scene where Laura's teaching her how to use the gun and put the safety. Yeah, we're just going to put that safety back on. Okay.
Yeah.
But you can see through it. Look. No, put it down.
Yeah.
But then we get Dr. Weiser, Taliesin, who's the computer expert. And I don't know if it was the suit or just the way he talked, but he definitely gave me Burke vibes, Paul Reiser's character in the Aliens movie. And especially when he was like, for a computer software expert to be like, the first thing on his mind is, oh, we can get specimens of whatever the life form is in the science bay and stuff. It kind of reminded me of Burke.
Yeah.
He ended up not being a bad guy like Burke, but which is good.
Yeah.
And then we had Garrett, Gunnery Sergeant Cameron Garrett, Travis being the combat expert.
And, all I have to say about that, as much fun as it was, performance, just made me want to see him as a gnome wizard even more.
He gave me Johnner vibes from Alien Resurrection. Ron Perlman's character.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the guy in charge in Avatar.
Yeah, especially with the makeup on the scars.
Yeah.
That was the other thing I thought of with the scars, but just the gruffness just reminded me more of Johnner, really.
Yeah.
For me. Then we get Forrest. Liam played the hardware engineer, the mechanic. And he came right off, he very early came off with the Bishop vibes. I know we don't find that out till later, but the first clue for me is he's going around collecting the things. He automatically volunteers to go outside. And the things that he says he needs, the only things he keeps out of all the gear he collects is the mag boots and the welding torch. He doesn't say, I hold on to the suit because I'm going to wear it. Or the oxygen tanks. He's just like, I just mean the mag boots and the welding torch. I'm like, he's the robot. At that point, you know?
I didn't know that if they were going to do the robot thing until after break, when Travis was playing his own version of Among Us. Trying to find out who was the robot. I actually saw a lot of Orem.
Yeah,
in Liam's early appearance. Early.
Yeah.
Just in his voice and mannerisms, I was like, it's very Orem.
Yeah, I can see that too. But like, just, you know, how he was just, some of the ways he was talking just kind of gave me the, he's not quite as emotionally charged, you know. So, but when he's like, I only keep this and this is all I need, I was like, he's a robot. Then we get Captain Stephanie Glass, Laura's character, and that's the one that didn't really give me any vibes of a specific character from a movie or anything.
I think maybe Dave from 2001.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Or I sort of got like if Ripley had been in charge.
I can also see that. Yeah. It just didn't fully click. Like, oh, this is that kind of you know. It was definitely a good character. I felt she made a very good captain.
Yeah,
because she wasn't like full. I mean, she took command when she needed to, but she let people act to their strengths. And when she made a decision, it was after hearing the advice of the experts and saying, okay, this is the way we're going to go.
Yeah.
You know, which to me is a good captain, a good leader. And then, of course, you know, spoilers, she goes down with the ship, you know. So, all around, and it's just Laura, you know. She was very Laura, you know, very on top of, intuitive as to what's going on and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we have Mother.
Yeah.
Ashley Johnson. Here, I'm going to give you a HAL-type computer, but you have to call me Mom to get anything out of me.
So, this is, because I was thinking about this, and I was like, you know, 2001, HAL, I could see that. In fact, I tweeted at her, how many times did you want to say, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't do that? Because there were like 3 times in the episode where that line could have worked.
Yeah. Easily.
But, and now I'm blanking on the name of the movie. There's a sci-fi movie on Netflix. I think it's called Mother.
Okay.
But it's about a young girl who was raised in a like fallout shelter situation, and she's raised by a robot.
Okay.
that she calls mother. And as the movie goes on, little hints here and there are dropped.
Yeah.
That things are not what they seem. And you find out that the little girl is not the first girl that mother has raised. And she has incinerated all of the others.
Oh. That's
Spoiler.
fun.
Spoiler.
I'm going to have to check out that.
But yeah, it's a good movie. It's sort of in the vein of Ex Machina.
Okay.
So if you like that film, I think you'll like
Awesome.
that. But yeah. So much of what Ashley did in this, I love.
Mm-hmm.
As an example for first-time DMs.
Yeah.
She used genre.
Yep.
Flat out, arguably, copied plots
Mm-hmm.
and NPCs. This is fine to do. And led her players on a fun adventure.
Yeah.
She did make some standard rookie mistakes that everybody makes. Even I make them sometimes. Specifically, I'll call one out. They asked what rate we're losing oxygen at.
Mm.
And she didn't have an answer. And she sort of brushed it aside, kind of thing. But yeah, that was the only one that I was like, tee hee. But I didn't mind because it was like I say, this was the perfect first attempt at GM, I think.
And to be fair, I would have had a hard time answering that question because it didn't feel like the oxygen was depleting at a set rate. Because the creatures were, it would deplete quicker when the creatures had access to it.
Yeah.
Which the first clue
Yeah.
that none of them got was when they are observing the hull breach. That we passed through the meteor storm and got, a hull breach. When I forget whether it was through the cameras or what, they look at the hull breach and she says, yeah, it looks like it could have been, or you could assume that it was. I'm like, nope, that's not what did it. It was not from the meteor shower. That was the first hint, and I love it. It was a perfect foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Statement.
And you might be right, because when they sealed the breach, the rate didn't go down until they repressurized the science bay.
Yeah. Because it was sitting at 60 for a long time, and then all of a sudden, hey, it's at 45.
Yeah.
Hey, it's at 30,
Yeah.
It started dropping quicker after a certain point.
Yeah. And I did love Laura just making sure, can we see our doom through the doors?
Yeah.
Through the windows? But yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Also, the item cards.
Yes.
Do you think that's a solution for the pandemic play? Or something else?
I hadn't thought about a solution for the pandemic play. I mean, I guess it kind of did because I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, they all have so they can pull out the items that they have.
Yeah.
And it was because when you're playing separated like that, it's hard to hand out the item cards.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I guess it is a solution for pandemic play. But I was like, oh, that's cool. Everyone's got the deck of cards. These are the items you can find. You can pull. I'll give you the number, and you can pull them out when you find them. And then each person who found them got to pull their own cards. And then that way, if I give him this. Oh, okay. What number was that? I can.
And addresses the issue that we talked about a lot with Exandria Unlimited, knowing where the crown was.
Yeah.
You know what you have because you have the cards.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But and then we have some things like the characters they set up. Yeah.
Yeah, Ichor, the correct pronunciation. Yeah, I think that's playing with Matt a lot. Matt loves to use Ichor.
Yeah.
In his descriptions, it's either Ichor or Viscera, are the two vocab words that he likes to lay down.
Yeah.
And Ichor especially has shown up a lot more since he did the Red Nose game with Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
Just because Colbert got such a freaking kick out of it. Like, he says Ichor and Colbert's face lights up.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, did you just say Ichor? And Matt's like, yeah. He's like, well, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But Marisha's character has a pet snake that was left in the science lab, which gives the creature its first host.
Yeah, I expected that to come up sooner. And I think Ashley did too.
Yeah.
And I think she was worried that it wasn't going to come up. But I think Marisha at some point was like, I really should go in there and check.
Yeah. And I really like the fact that I'm assuming she chose where it was, and that Ashley knew where it was before the game started. Yeah. And I love the fact that she left it in the science lab, and that the science lab was the opposite end of the ship from the airlocks. Yeah. Just to add that time tension.
Yeah. Also, so there was some celebration of this episode having content warnings on it. And I was, like, in retrospect, it's funny because, like, when Taliesin is joking with Travis about how old his magazine is.
Yeah.
He's like, that's like dentist office. And I'm like, I'm going to the dentist on Tuesday. So, and then today, during the rewatch, I was like, it's a little close to home. But
did you find a good copy of Armory Weekly?
In fact, I did not. I was mostly on my phone. But I don't think I've ever seen a scene where a content warning is specifically warranted for one person on Earth. And that is during the spacewalk on the way back.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the leak in the coolant system, and it covers his eyes and his nose.
In his ears. Yep.
One man on Earth has experienced that. Chris Hadfield. His last spacewalk on the ISS.
Yeah.
The coolant system sprung a leak, and because in 0G the surface tension of water makes it stick to your skin, so the leak just slowly built up, and like he could feel it, and they knew this was coming for like 40 minutes to an hour.
Oh wow!
And they made the decision to try to get the work done before anything bad. And it was first one eye, and it went over the bridge of his nose and covered the other one. And it was I think at the point that it went over the second eye, they called it into the spacewalk. And I think it was beginning to cover his nose when he finally made it back in and got the helmet off. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Also because it shows that Ashley is definitely still the space geek.
Yeah.
To bring that up and have that be the specific cause of the water.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting. And it also left the audience, or at least me, wondering, oh, is he the one that's going to get infected?
Oh, yeah.
You know? Which, no. Partially because he's the robot.
Yeah. And didn't suffer the fate of Ash or Bishop.
Yeah. He gets talked down by Glass, brought in by Garrett, talked down by Glass. They get the helmet off. He's able to fix it.
And see, his reaction during that was sort of my clue that he was a robot.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, I mean, he's still got the stress point, but he was pretty calm and stuff.
Yeah. So I wonder if he had a thing where he couldn't be panicked.
Yeah. Maybe.
And Ashley may have forgotten that and said, "You're panicked."
Well, I don't think he ever made a panic roll, did he? I know Taliesin did, and
No.
Travis did, but he never had to make the panic roll.
No.
He got the stress, and that could just be from, his sensors being blocked by the water.
Yeah.
But, he just, even when the times he got stressed, and Laura even made the comment, you're getting really stressed, aren't you? And he just keeps the same demeanor the whole time.
Yeah. And Rose, I think the closest thing we had to a mother turnaround was when she downloaded the new directive into Forrest.
Yeah. Which is arguably not really a flip. It's just, hey, we have to protect the lives. We have to protect the cargo.
Yeah. Do you think she expected more conflict out of that?
Out of the downloaded programming?
No, out of Forrest making the decision we're going to separate.
Oh.
From the crew.
Yeah, because he didn't ask. I at least expected Laura to jump on him.
Yeah.
Because he just did it without her permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether
she did or not, I definitely did. I could see Weiser and Noman being like, okay, that's, logical. Don't like that you didn't tell us, but,
Yeah.
But, yeah, Glass and Garrett, both I had assumed would jump on him for it, because she's the captain and he's the, hey, chain of command guy, chain of command.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did say no.
And I think it's because Laura said, basically had already been making those kinds of decisions.
Right.
And after it was done, she was like, no, that was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ashley swears there will never be another one.
I hope there is.
I do too. And there are openings for another one.
Yeah.
Because the opening setting of the scene, the inciting incident as described, was the moon breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
We have a meteor shower that inflicts this parasite on the crew.
Mm-hmm.
And the descent in the escape pod to, oh man.
Yes, Rose.
I wonder how much, if at all, Ashley rehearsed narrating his exiting the escape pod.
Oh, I'm sure she rehearsed a lot.
Because
on a lot of things.
2 sentences in, I think, I was like, is she going to do it?
Yeah.
Is she going to do it?
Yeah.
And, oh, it was so good. So good.
Yes, it was. The other option, if Ashley doesn't do it, I could see Taliesin running something in that universe where the NPC that sends the PCs on the mission is Dr. Weiser.
Yeah.
So.
But, if you remember, she narrated them when they get to the bridge. The planet below them and the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think 30 years would be enough for the moon to reconstitute itself. If indeed that was the truth, because that could have been an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
If Johnson Corp has the power to do that kind of thing, they could have caused some sort of industrial accident on the moon that was raining debris and ruining life on Earth, and told people the moon is going to crack. And people escape. So, also...
Well, and she does describe herself, or Ash Johnson, as conniving and tricksy and all that stuff.
Which means she is in the Ark.
Yeah.
So, we have the moon that didn't completely fall back to Earth. A parasite, presumably from the moon. And at one point they ask Mother, how far away are we? And Mother says 300 miles. The ISS orbits at 120 miles altitude. So they're in a higher orbit than the ISS. But yeah, they were not that far away.
No.
And yeah, there are a number of ways that I saw that this could get picked up again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and we had talked before about instead of just Exandria Unlimited, using that mini season slot to explore other gaming systems and other genres as well.
Yeah.
So.
Especially if they're going to be sponsored.
Yeah. But what we do have is in the they track down the beast. They go into not the cargo, the engine room, and Garrett gets attacked.
Friendly fire isn't.
Yes.
Which was the highlight of that segment for me.
There was like 11 damage. Oh wait, I was only supposed to roll 1. This will be a lot better. This will be 1 better. 10 max damage.
Yeah.
But his shield gets cracked, his face shield, and it goes up his nose. Now, in my brain, when I'm watching that, and I know it probably wouldn't have worked, but just like my visceral reaction, as soon as that helmet came off, I'd have been blowing snot rockets to see if I could dislodge that thing.
Yeah.
And Travis is just like, nah, it's cool. I'm not even going to tell anybody that I might be infected with, He's that asshole in the zombie apocalypse.
Totally.
Which makes me wonder why everyone else fell, but he survived in all his previous missions, how he got the cush job. Everyone else died, but I survived. So that's what earned me this cush job. How willing was he to sacrifice his team to make sure he got out?
Yeah. I don't know if Ash Johnson wants that kind of person in charge of her security.
I think that means he's the type that will have a side mission underhanded for her and make sure that gets done no matter what.
Yeah. It's fair.
And if she's on the Ark, he may have known about the plan, and if the android had resisted the programming, he may have been like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Also, the ship, woefully unprepared for such a journey. There was minimal oxygen supply in case something went wrong. There was way too few lifeboats for the crew. I mean, could it have been that Garrett was supposed to, if anything went wrong, was supposed to launch that, and the reason there was only one is to make sure he could get out? The loyal guy?
Yeah, maybe.
Unfortunately, he was the one that was used as an incubation chamber, so...
I mean, the Titanic didn't have enough boats either.
Yeah, which was stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Because they also didn't check to make sure that the Ark was, in fact, secure.
Yeah.
All we have is Mother's word that she secured it from being infiltrated.
Right.
I don't know that that's accurate.
Yeah. Which is an opening for a further adventure.
Yeah. I don't know if she got the edge. There were a couple moments where not overwhelmed, but she's like, I mean, maybe she'll do it privately and not in front of a camera.
Yeah, a couple of times, you know. I think, I mean, that's a lot of added stress, especially for your first time. And she may not have gotten it right away, but in my experience, sooner or later they get the itch and they want to run another one.
Yeah.
Typically, in my experience, and again, just my experience, the only people who never want to run, never willing to run a game, are the ones who never have run a game.
Yeah.
So, and that's how you get stuck with the forever DM in those cases.
Yeah. But yeah, what I picked out was 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yep.
Alien and Aliens.
Yep.
Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
And Star Trek.
Yep.
Specifically, Spock's quarters. He has the forever mirror in his quarters, and that's what they used for the backdrop for Ashley.
Yeah.
And when the show started, I was like, holy shit, they built out this whole set for this? And I was like, they spent money. Okay? And then as we were prepping for the show today, I was looking and I was like, okay. I think, because I was like, how much did they really have to spend? Is where my brain went when I was rewatching it today on that. And I think all they did was an upright behind them with 3 of the panels having LED in them, and the buttons or the colored lights behind them, I think were probably maybe jellies or the cellophane, light cellophane. And the only reason my brain went there is because I subscribed to Tested.
Okay.
And Adam Savage is always talking about how in theater everything has to be cheap, and you find ways to do it.
Yeah.
For cheap. And so I was looking for how they did it.
Yeah.
This time around. The only thing that I think they probably spent money on, like real money, was the DM screen.
Yeah.
And I think that was just as a gift to her.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, I mean, yeah. Taliesin, Dr. Weiser is chosen as the one to live, to use the escape pod.
Do you think Ashley had envisioned an extra step in preventing the ship from crashing or another Menomorph from hatching. Because she's got 2 hosts, and the captain's there alone with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, if you want openings, that leads from Aliens to Alien 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
You know. And she does successfully move the ship so that when it destructs, it's not going to go into the atmosphere. And what happens with Ripley? She gets the ship on a course so that it doesn't go into an inhabited, from what she can tell. And it's her and the robot, because she goes back and reactivates the robot later in Alien 3 when she's on the prison colony.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to go that route with it and have Glass be the survivor, and then everyone else plays people from a prison planet or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways it could end up going.
So Planet of the Apes wasn't exactly a horror film. But Terminator was.
Yeah.
And if they were expecting biological life to be extinguished, maybe the twist on the lone survivor kind of thing on the planet would be it's all synths. And so in Stellaris, one of the machine empire origins is rogue servitors.
Okay.
Where you were originally created to serve a biological population. So you have a certain number of biological pops. And they're basically, I think the lifestyle is pampered or something like that. So it would be, that's a potential where they find him and sort of not necessarily enslave him the way that they tried to do Charlton Heston.
Right.
But you're alive. Come with, and forcing him sort of like the cage in Star Trek with Pike.
Yep.
Where you are now on exhibit in the zoo, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And then everyone plays one of these specimens. So that's a possibility.
That's a possibility. Oh, I just remember the other Star Trek reference throwing, not necessarily from Ashley, but that I loved was the Never Trust Black Space Goo. I learned that from Tasha Yar.
Yes.
That held a special place for me.
There were a couple other references that the cast made, and I didn't bother writing them down.
Right.
But yeah, they were nice. Marisha letting Sam's daughter create
Yes.
her character. Gave me some hope that Campaign 3's characters may be like a Secret Santa.
Okay.
Where they all drew somebody, or didn't in the case of Liam and Sam. But they basically gave each other prompts.
That could be interesting.
And if that's the case, it gives me some hope that something on the list that I talked about last week might come up. Because I tried to make it so that it would be a challenge in some way for all of them. And I could see them doing that to each other too.
I could see them doing that. I don't know that they would do that for a full campaign. I don't know. I just see that as more of like a one-shot or a mini-series type of
Sam's done it twice.
Sam's done it twice. But Sam also doesn't want to make that choice, I think. I think he's like me in that he enjoys the role play exercise. The not, for me it's a way of, because I know I'm going to fall into my comfort zones. If I choose, and if I have a fun idea, I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy other people picking things or randomly generating things because it allows me to stretch that role play, stretch the acting skills.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
So got a few minutes left. Our Critical Role is dark this week. Next week they're going to have a narrative telephone and a Mighty Vibes episode out. The narrative telephone will be the cast of EXU.
Yeah, it's Robbie's story, isn't it?
I believe so. What do we want to cover? Do we want to go back over your list so I can add my picks for what they're going to play? Do we want to... do you guys have any ideas for what we should do?
I had an idea to maybe go over my rules for playing an Immortal.
Okay.
In World of Darkness.
Yeah.
Or go through Star Wars Worlds of Darkness.
Yeah.
The hack that we did.
Yeah.
Just because I posted those in the Discord.
Okay.
And I was like, oh. And then I was like, well, what else can I do? And I've been thinking about potential subclass for Araku. I haven't written anything yet. Mostly because I've been more concentrating on monsters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
So, yeah, I mean, whichever you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, Rose, that's true. Well, and I got the idea from what you were saying the previous week.
Yeah.
So.
With Liam.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I'll have my work out all my picks and what I'd like to see. I did glance over your list on Sunday, but I didn't memorize it or anything. So
Yeah.
it'll be a list, and then you can tell me how close I got to yours.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll plan on that. Anything else?
I don't think so. Combat, I guess, comment on the mechanics. The combat seemed to go quickly
Yeah.
in the episode. At least it was no slower than like D&D or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing we might be able to do is my setting and hack of Laura's, like I said, the friendly fire isn't. Although I don't know if I want to do it as a partial. Fourth World, which is a setting you've never played in.
Yes, I have. Once. I played the aquatic dwarf shaman.
That's right, in Shelley's one shot.
Yeah, it was a pretty short, but it was set in the Fourth World. Yeah,
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that's my only experience with the world, but
yeah. One of those times, another DM was playing in my sandbox. That's why it would be relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. I will try and look at that. Oh, the critical successes? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Because he was like, "Why don't I use this die all the time?" And Marisha goes, "Because it sucks for D&D. You want to roll low. Here and there, you want to roll high."
It's the don't use your Axis and Allies dice.
Yes.
For D&D. Yeah. And I was going to say, I will be coming. I have a dentist appointment next Tuesday, too.
Oh, okay.
But shouldn't be anything.
That'll be fun because I'm not a dentist, but I also have a doctor's appointment that morning, too.
Yeah. But until next week, we'll see you guys later, and take care of yourself and each other.
Bye.